The My Ford University Podcast, episode 28. Welcome, colleagues. George Sloan, founder and dean of My Ford University, the no bullshit school of thought for builders, doers, and problem solvers. Today's question is simple, and it's going to be a little bit fun too. Are you smarter than a college graduate, or an MBA, or a PhD? Here's the twist. You might be. In fact, a lot of quote-unquote average people with no degrees are outthinking, out-earning, and outmaneuvering the very people who spent six figures and up to 6 years or more chasing credentials. Because smart isn't about what's on paper. It's all about how you operate. So, with that, let's dig in. What smart, quote-unquote, has been made to mean. You've been told that smart equals degrees. Not necessarily. That if someone's been through college, business school, or doctoral program, they're smarter than you. Really? That if you didn't graduate or you don't use fancy words and didn't pass some standardized test, you're not smart. Total nonsense. Bullshit. Okay? Some of the dumbest people I know have degrees. Here's the truth. When you get right down to it, smart is not defined by degrees. Smart people do 5 things really well. And I don't think a lot of you are going to be surprised by this, but here we go. Smart people solve real problems. Smart people learn fast and apply even faster. Smart people make good decisions under pressure. Smart people communicate with clarity. Smart people adapt when plans fall apart. And you don't need a diploma for any of that. For any of it. No degree is required. See, there's book smart and then there's common sense and practical smart. And quite frankly, common sense and practical smart is a lot smarter than someone who spent years poring over books. Because if you solve problems in the real world, you're way ahead of the game. All right. Let's break down the degree groups, okay? College graduates, supposedly, they're trained to memorize, obey deadlines, pass tests, and repeat information. College graduates are rewarded for compliance, completion, and surface-level writing. What college graduates are not usually taught is how to think for themselves, how to solve real-world problems, how to navigate complexity, how to earn, negotiate, or lead. Being college smart often means being good at school, not good at life. And for a lot of you out there, I'm sure I'm not telling you anything new. I try to keep my cynicism in check, but the evidence is out there and it presents itself to me all the time. And I know people that graduated high school who are smarter than some of these people holding these fancy degrees. All right, let's look at MBAs for a second. MBAs are trained in frameworks, analysis, strategy, case studies, and looking polished. Okay? Got news for you. Almost anyone can learn some of these things. In fact, we give them to you at myforduniversity.com. The real proof of pudding is the ability to apply it and use it. And you don't need an MBA to do that. But let's get back to MBAs for a second and their programs. The thing is, most MBAs do the following. They avoid risk. They talk more than they do. They rely on jargon. They wait for permission. They build slides instead of businesses. They can speak MBA, but often they can't build without a team, a budget, or a boss. A lot of them fall victim to analysis paralysis. Got to be the perfect situation. Better to be a person of action than to sit and be an MBA who is stuck. So a lot of what MBAs know, I've said it before, a motivated 12-year-old could learn it. It's not that complicated. And anyone can learn it if they desire to. All right, let's look at PhDs for a second. Now, PhDs do go deep. They master academic depth. However, PhDs often struggle to simplify things. They make the simple complex as opposed to making the complex simple. They avoid speed in favor of precision. Now, granted, there are times when precision matters, and there are times when iterating and getting a MVP or minimum viable product out into the marketplace where you can get feedback loops going and make the product better. PhDs focus on perfection, and quite frankly, there is no such thing. There is only better. PhDs also stay trapped in theory. Theory is wonderful. It's good to know the foundations, but application trumps theory almost every day of the week. Don't build, they don't ship, and they don't sell. That's some of their Achilles heels. And it's usually a doer that makes these quote-unquote thinkers look good. PhDs also don't translate their insights into impact. They are brilliant on paper, if you will, but they are stuck when it comes to reality. Okay, let's talk about the rest of us. Where average, quote unquote, people win. Okay, let's talk about you. Maybe you didn't finish college. Don't feel too bad. Maybe you never went. Right there, you're probably smarter than a college graduate these days. Maybe you work with your hands, or you write, or you build, or you manage, or you coach. And I would add, or you lead. Because leadership doesn't necessarily come from a college degree or an MBA or a PhD. But the difference with you is you can make decisions with incomplete data. Okay? We've talked about that. You got to act, and you can't wait for the perfect conditions. You have to make a decision. I would highly recommend you take a look at VUCA and you look at the OODA loop. I have articles on both of them on myforduniversity.com. You also solve problems in messy situations. You learn quickly. You communicate clearly, and you take action without a 50-slide deck. I really don't like long decks, personally, and a deck, in this case, being a PowerPoint presentation. That is smarter than 90% of the market. You don't sound smart, you just are smart. You're street smart because you deliver outcomes. And what have we said before? Clients, customers, employers, no one cares about where you went if you can't deliver problem-solving skills, creative thinking, the ability to generate results and provide positive outcomes. No one gives a shit where you went. They only care about what you can do. All right. Let's talk about real intelligence in the real world. You want to know what real intelligence looks like today? It's someone who can figure things out under pressure, knows what matters and ignores what doesn't, can explain the complex simply. I say this all the time. Doesn't panic when the plan falls apart. They can move fast without perfect information and doesn't need 6 months of meetings to make a decision. Does it sound like you? Then you're playing a better game. Again, I've said this many times, and I'm a project manager, so a lot of this applies. You have got to be able to deal with pressure. You've got to be able to know what matters and what doesn't. You've got to be able to simplify the complex and not complicate the simple. You do not want to panic. You want to have contingency plans, and you want to be able to pivot. You want to be able to move fast with limited information, making the best decision possible with what you've got. And you don't want a bunch of ridiculous meetings to make decisions. You need to be flexible, agile, and be able to, work on the move and deal with a dynamic world that we live in now, not a static one. So, again, a college degree, an MBA, and a PhD does not guarantee that you can do any of these things. So if you can do these things, I would say you're probably smarter than most of them. So here's a test. Are you smarter? Let's find out. Let's do a quick litmus test and see where you stand. If you answer yes or no to each, it will help. Do people come to you when something is broken and trust you to fix it? Yes or no? Have you helped someone do something they couldn't do on their own? Yes or no? Can you explain things simply and clearly, even to a beginner? Yes or no? Have you taught yourself something without being told? Yes or no? Can you improvise when plans collapse? Yes or no? Do you move faster than your peers because you don't wait for instructions? Yes or no? If you answered yes to most of these, you are smarter than a college graduate, MBA, or a PhD. Book smart is one thing, practical application smart is another, and you are probably more valuable than any of these folks. All right, so what do you do with all of that? Here's how you turn your real world intelligence into a superpower. Ready? Number one, learn in public. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be useful. Write, record, share, teach. Even if you're just one step ahead, you can lead. Always good to know how to do the various jobs. Sometimes it's good to start on the bottom because then you're able to help people and coach people and lead people. Number two, you can solve real problems, starting with your own. Then find a friend, then a business, then a team. Outcomes build your credibility faster than credentials ever could, not just in the eyes of others, but even in your own eyes. You build confidence in your abilities. Number three, build proof of work, create assets, case studies, walkthroughs, processes, testimonials, demos, systems. We've talked about this. Work samples. Show your thinking, show your work, show your results. No degree is required. Remember, I talked about this as a whole article about building a samples portfolio. Knowledge workers need to show and tell. It's one thing to say it, it's another to be able to show that you can actually do it, and it will set you apart. Number four, you want to stay curious. While the credentialed elite try to protect their status, you stay learning, improving, and growing. You're not resting on your laurels, and that's what a lot of these folks do. They fall back on things, constantly keeping the sword sharp. You want to constantly be improving and sharpening. They tend to ride on their laurels. That's the difference. Curiosity is a better long-term strategy than any certification or credential. Keep that in mind. You want some real examples of smart without school? I'll throw a few at you. Noah Kagan never finished college, built multiple seven-figure businesses. He has a really good book. You should check him out. James Clear, he also has a really good book. He didn't do an MBA. He wrote a book that outperformed most business school programs. Atomic Habits, if you're not familiar. It's a good book. All right, another. The construction foreman who leads a crew with zero drama and finishes on time and under budget. I think I've told the story before. We had a bunch of engineers asking us, what we could do to solve a particular problem, and they gave a solution that was nonsensical. And when I told a construction superintendent who had a high school education, well, if they're engineers, we're all engineers. That's one of the silliest things I've ever heard. And he was absolutely right. The stay-at-home parent who built an Etsy business while raising 3 kids. There are people that have done it and can do it. The barber who turned his shop into a 6-figure coaching business for other barbers. I know multiple places where they're not just a barber, they're actually a school, and they are replicating themselves almost in an apprenticeship approach, and it's a nice little business model for them. They have actually gone and taken something and done something practical. None of them waited for permission. I've said this before. I describe myself as self-managed. I mean, yeah, in my position, I do have a supervisor I answer to, but I don't need to be told what to do. I self-manage. In fact, I anticipate, and I will sometimes go to my supervisor and say, hey, look, we need this, and I've started putting it together. Great. Take initiative. That's what you need to do. You know, these people, they didn't feel smart, they acted smart, and that's what counts. Don't wait for permission. Just recognize there's an issue, come up with a solution, and then the solution will speak for itself. People will look at you and go, wow, a self starter who takes initiative. Be self managed. All right, let's wrap this up a little bit. We need to redefine what smart is. If you remember one thing from this episode, let it be this: smart is not a title, smart is not a GPA, and smart is not a piece of paper. Okay? Here's what smart is: doing what others avoid, thinking clearly, acting quickly, communicating simply, and delivering consistently. If you're doing that, congratulations, you're smarter than you think, and probably smarter than 90% of those degree holders. This is My Ford University. I want to thank you for joining us today. I want you to think hard, learn faster, do what works. And as we always say, learn it fast and apply it faster. No one cares what you know, it's what you can do with what you know. We'll see you the next time, and thank you.